there are conversations that he didn't have while he was an employee, and there are new conversations that come to you, business opportunities that come to you as a business owner that you don't even get an opportunity to witness or even participate in. So, it's just a different type of life, and you just are treated differently when you're bringing in a significant amount of money.
Hey, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Nurse Boss Shift. My name is Christal Parker, and as you see, my business bestie Kiana is not in today. She is enjoying her family. It's her anniversary today. So I have the pleasure of talking to Ms. Doris Dike. She is a healthcare attorney based out. Where are you based
Dallas,
out of?
Texas.
Dallas. I thought so.
Yeah.
I thought so. Based out of Dallas, Texas, one of my favorite cities. So she's going to talk to us today about healthcare, medical practices, and just things that maybe as nurses we can watch out for so that we can protect ourselves when trying to start these type of businesses. So welcome, Doris.
Thank
How are
you
you
for
doing
having
today?
me. Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me. And I was talking to Crystal before we started because Crystal and I met in person at a nurse conference. So it's so nice to put a beautiful face to the brand. So yeah, so I'm super excited to be here.
Yay. Okay, Doris. So just give us a little bit about your background and what you are currently doing and what you love to do as far as healthcare law is concerned. Give us the deets on all of
All
that.
right. So I am Doris Dike. I'm a healthcare business attorney. So DK Law Group is a Dallas-based healthcare business law firm. We've clients kind of all over, but Dallas is Texas is our hub. Prior to this law firm, I was general counsel of a rural hospital in North Carolina. I was chief legal officer there. And that hospital, like I said, was rural. They had doctors, nurses. It was owned by an entrepreneur, not a
Of
provider.
course.
So I
Of
always
course.
tell my providers when I'm like,
Yeah.
y'all, people are getting into these
Mhm.
businesses and they're not even clinical at all. So
Yes.
he just was a savvy business owner who could see a need and partnered. The COO was a nurse, and so I was their chief legal officer. Before that, I was a firm attorney um, doing health law, and then before that, I was compliance officer for two regional and then a national home healthcare company. So I have a lot of healthcare experience, and then I'm married to a neurologist. My husband's a physician. I started his neurology practice in 2018. So we've been in business for 5 years. I think it's crazy, but yeah, we now have two locations, and we're growing. So I know what it's like.
Yes, yes. I love to hear that. I love to hear that, and that you are so even more closely related to healthcare through legal and also on the side of owning it with your husband. So
Absolutely.
you have the best, or you have both worlds, so you can kind of see from that perspective. A lot of the times, and as you were just talking about, savvy businessmen who are coming in and start opening this business. Tell me about why do you think that, or have you seen that healthcare professionals are more timid and scared when it comes to starting businesses? And then also, what do you think about this boom in med spa and the med spa industry? Have you seen a big
Oh
boom in the
yeah.
med spa industry since you started?
So I think it's because maybe entrepreneurs who are not in healthcare don't know healthcare, right? They know money.
Hmm.
And
Right.
entrepreneurs, when they see an opportunity, they take it, where providers are always, they've got more to lose. They've got a license that they have, and maybe they haven't seen the business. So for my husband, he had to help grow the practice that he was working at before. So he had to bring in his own patients. Like, yeah, they gave him some, but not really. So when you are bringing in your own patients, you feel more comfortable to start something on your own versus someone who is just kind of sits there and patients are being fed to you. So, um, I'm not surprised. Healthcare is an industry that's a lot more stable than other industries. We saw a lot of people lose jobs in IT, which everybody thought was so stable, but you're always going to need some sort of healthcare. So when you're thinking about what to invest in and you're an entrepreneur, you're going to go, okay, what does everybody need? What makes money? And what also I think entrepreneurs think is there's so many verticals in healthcare. There's the med spas, there's rural health, there's behavioral health. There's just so many parts of healthcare that you can kind of get into. You can get into staffing. So I just think that people who are good at business will find ways to make money. And even if their one healthcare business doesn't work, they'll just jump into another healthcare business because it's a stable market. What do I think about the boom in med spas? I think that people are vain. So that's just what it is. I mean, we all want to look good, we all want to feel good. And I think that the boom is going to continue. And when I was at my last firm, I didn't realize how much of a boom the med spa industry was. And that's like 2018, 2019. I wrote an article for one of our local magazines, and then I just started getting flooded with calls on med spas. I'm like, what the heck? Didn't realize at the time then that Texas was like the med spa state. Apparently it is. But so yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, I think that we're always looking for ways just to make ourselves look better. And people are always going to spend money to look good. So I'm finding more providers are, even traditional providers are looking for ways to add aesthetics into their business. Can they add Botox? As my husband does Botox for migraine. He's like, okay, can I do Botox for, other parts of the face? And I'm like, and I look at him, I'm like, do you know how to do that? I would be a little scared, but whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, what I find providers in all areas are trying to find ways that are cash pay because they're tired of insurance. So if aesthetics allows you to do that, it brings patients in. Why not?
It's funny you say that because someone was just telling me, I was telling them like, oh, I need to find a new like gyne clinic, and she's like, oh, there's this one, and they do OB and gyne, and then they do Botox and fillers. I'm like, okay, so now you get like a Pap smear and some Botox at the same time. It's like, and that's so true because I was telling you we just did a webinar for our IV hydration class, and this time we haven't gotten this question a lot, but this time it was multiple people asking about insurance, billing insurance. I'm like, you guys do not want to deal with insurance. You want to deal with cash pay. Like if you haven't dealt with insurance, trust me, you don't want to.
Yeah.
So that's so true that why practitioners will be trying to add on more cash based business, like you said, cash paying business to their practice. Just to add that extra income to it.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, for a nurse who is interested in starting their own healthcare clinic, what would be, and a lot of the nurses we talk to are just so scared and fearful, which goes back to what you were saying. The business owner may not know all the intricacies or all the risks that is in healthcare, so they're able to just kind of do it blindly, if you will. Of course, they have those people on their team who will be able to assist them. But for someone who is a nurse starting out, and nurses are just so scared because I think it's so ingrained in us in nursing school. I know for doctors, my medical director in medical school, they are kind of anti starting your own business because of the risks. But what would you say to a practitioner who's wanting to start a business, but they're just so scared of something happening to their license or something going wrong? What advice would you give them? Because I find fear is like one of the number one things that's stopping nurses from starting their own businesses.
Ooh, I think this is such a good question. I think that my last job as chief legal officer of a rural hospital, my eyes were like wide open. Because again, the owner of the hospital was not clinical. And outside, because he had some billing issues. I think that's why he had some financial issues, but the hospital was making $1.5 million a month. This is with like 3,000 patients because the way that you bill for rural clinics and rural hospitals are different. So I think that you have to just jump, right? When you see, sometimes, when we read like Forbes and we read all these magazines of all these people, we look at these people and we think that they're so like super and they're so great. But these are regular people. These are regular people who are ready to take the risk and believe in themselves. And when you have the right team, you got the right team on your side, you should just do it because there's so much money to be made. Now, insurance is a monster. I'm not even going to say that it's not. And you can get denied. I mean, that's something that my previous boss had a lot of issues with. But at the same time, you can make a lot of money. You get someone who knows what they're doing, right? So it's just making sure that you have the right team. So if it's the right coaching team, if you want to bill insurance and you want to have an insurance based business, because it's very lucrative, get the right billers. Because there's a lot of money to be made in healthcare. And when you see the amount of money, for me, it's like you can't be scared. You just need to just do it because it's a if people only knew the amount of revenue that you could really make, you would just swallow the fear and do what you need to do, right? Because it could really change your life. Like if you think about the owner of HCA, way back in the day, he was a physician. He started in rural healthcare, started buying rural hospitals. HCA is a multi-billion-dollar company now, right? But you got to start somewhere. And if you're that person who wants to be the little nurse or the little doctor and you don't want to get there, then you forgo getting a seat at the table. Like you forgo opportunities that just come to you. Like again, my husband is a physician. There are conversations that he didn't have while he was an employee, and there are new conversations that come to you, business opportunities that come to you as a business owner that you don't even get an opportunity to witness or even participate in. So, it's just a different type of life, and you just are treated differently when you're bringing in a significant amount of money. So, I don't know. We got real debt here, so it's got to be paid.
Right, right, right. These student loans.
Yeah.
Uh, that is so amazing that you said that, because you just have to jump. And we tell nurses all the time, you just have to jump and have the right team around you. Because once you take that first step in entrepreneurship, you have like you said, these conversations that happen, or people think of you and say, "Oh, I know someone who does that," and they hook you up with the next opportunity. It's yeah. I think once for myself, once I got a taste of that, it was like, oh no, there's no going back.
There is
You know, making like doing Botox for a party of 5 people, making, $4,000 in a couple hours,
right.
an hour or 2. It's
Yeah.
like, what? Mind blowing. And then someone referred me, oh, she does IV hydration. So this company, this spa up in Seattle flew me up, and now I'm on their team to help make their practice of their day spa a medical practice. Like, I never thought, now I'm a nurse consultant. Like,
It's
who would have known? And it's all with just taking the first step. And that's so important that you talked about the team, because it is about having a team around you. And everyone who comes on here, from whether legal or healthcare or consultants, they all say how important coaching is and having the right team around you. And I know I was looking at your TikTok and I heard you talking about what to look out for coaching programs. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that too,
yes.
because we always talk about how important coaching programs are. And there are some risks and people can get scammed, which is why Kiana and I are so diligent about making sure people get the best value out of our program, so that, because we know we've been there, we've been scammed, all the things. Talk about coaching and what you were saying about people should watch out for in
So,
regards to that.
I am a huge proponent of coaching because we don't know how to get to the goal because we've never been to the goal. So it's important to talk to people who've been there. But every program is not the same. So I'm a huge believer, but before you sign whatever program that you sign, is you talk to people. Like I have a client right now. I'm not going to go into too much detail. She joined a program, and they said she was going to get is not what she got. And we had to be very aggressive with the program. And this is not like a small it's a big company. And she lost a lot of money. Like she lost a lot of money. And it appeared on paper that, oh, I'm just going to have to put in a couple hundred bucks or a couple $1,000. And in the short term, it seemed like it wasn't a lot of money. But when you look at what she got and how much money she put forth and how much money she had to continue to put forth over the course of years, it just was like, it just didn't make any sense. And I think that people, they see the appeal in the, oh, I'm only going to have to spend a little bit of money. And sometimes it's, you know, the cost that you're spending, you're getting what you paid for, right? And I'm a huge believer in, hey, why not talk to your lawyer, talk to your accountant? I'm not a coach. I can't sell you the program, but I know Christal, I know Kiana, I know a whole bunch of other coaches, and I can say, yeah, these are good programs. I know these people. I don't know that person. I can't jump on the phone and talk. Like there are some coaches where you cannot jump on the phone and talk to them. Like you're talking to an assistant, you never speak to them. That's a problem. I need to ask you a question. So, you know, I say that talk to people who can be an objective third party who have nothing financially to gain from it, who can tell you, hey, I know this person, they're good. I I've heard about this company. I don't know, but I've heard, might want to steer clear of that situation. Cause I've had people come to me, clients who've again gotten into programs and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I lost my shirt. I'm like,
Yeah.
it is what
Yeah.
it is.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, it's definitely best that you get testimonials and talk to people who have been in the program, and really, like you said, do your due diligence to look at everything that you're getting and make sure that it makes financial sense, um,
Yeah, because if
so
it's a
that you
couple
don't
hundred bucks, it's not that big of a deal.
right, right. But when it gets into the thousands, and then people prey on people, especially like spending their last or and getting dipping into their retirement, and that's just such unfair practices. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just wanted our listeners to be able to hear something that they can do, to be able to vet potential coaches that are out there.
I think one is do a thorough yeah, look at testimonials, but the best thing that you can do is before you sign the agreement, again, talk to your lawyer about it. Why I say that is because most attorneys cannot get paid a referral fee. Like I can't. So if I can't get paid a fee to refer you someone, I'm gonna genuinely refer somebody because I like them or because do good work. It's not because I'm getting a financial benefit of them. But even if I don't know it, if I look at the agreement and you and I are talking about it, I'm gonna break it down and say, does this make sense financially for you? That's to me the best way that you can vet something. Because like you, Christal, you know good vendors. Your clients come to you, you're gonna say, don't do this, do this. Same thing with me. It's good to talk to a trusted advisor before you spend the money because we're gonna be able to direct the people in the right way because I'm hearing it from my clients and I'm gonna be able to tell you you're hearing it from your clients. And I think that's the best way to vet because otherwise you don't really know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now we all know that, there are some risks involved in starting medical practices and going off on our own, things like that with medical directors. If you're a nurse, what are some ways we can protect ourselves in our medical practices to make sure that we are protected, don't get sued? And is there also, I guess, I don't want to say like a sneaky way, but is there something that you want to say? I just want to let you guys know that this could potentially happen, so that we can safeguard our practices.
Oh, that's such a good question. The one thing I always say above all else is know the medical director that you're with. There are companies that you can match. I've referred people to matching companies. It is what it is if you can't find someone. But it is a world of a difference if I know you, I like you, and I trust you. You know, I have represented doctors, obviously, and I represent nurses. And I've represented entrepreneurs who, when I'm representing the doctor, the entrepreneur is screwed because the one thing I'll say is you get screwed if you're not abiding by the law, right? If you are abiding by the state law, we know what the law is. And if there's a disagreement, it's going to revert back to the law. It's what happens when you decide that you're going to do what you want to do. You do what you want to do and you decide you're not going to revert back to the law. That doctor now, and if the doctor knows the law, now if that doctor knows the law and you decide to do something else, then if there's a dispute, you guys are fighting, whatever, he's just going to pull the law on his side. So that's, to me, the best protection is if you're doing things by the letter, then we have a dispute, we're going to go back on the contract. We're going to go back to the law. And I know the law. I know what I'm owed. I'm protected. It's when you decide to do something else, you don't have proper documents together, you're not abiding by the law, then you're kind of holding the bag. Um, and that's doctor or nurse, because I've seen it go both ways. So um, I don't necessarily think there's a sneaky way. I think it's find a doctor that you know, like, and trust, somebody who wants to see you win, right? They're invested in you, and then make sure that above all else, if you're following the law, then you should have no issue, because at the end of the day, nurses, I see nurses as just entrepreneurs under the laws in most states. If other entrepreneurs are able to make millions starting these types of businesses, you are no different, right? If they're able to protect their business, so should you. So, the laws are in place to benefit you. So take advantage of them and follow it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so true. That's why we tell our clients that we tell them how to make their practices compliant and how to open in the most compliant way. Now, will they tell us, I got a drip from this company and they never did a GFE, a good faith exam on me? Yes, that's probably right. But we are going to tell you how to do it compliantly, because when you follow the laws, like you said, then you mitigate all the risks,
Mhm.
right? Same as we do in the hospital, it's no different. We follow the same laws and doctor's orders, et cetera, in the hospital. All we're doing that is taking it and putting it into our own practice. So it just baffles me how nurses are so scared to get around that. It's like, if you're being safe as you are at work with your patients and doing and abiding by doing no harm, then you will be okay. It's when you go outside of that and think that you don't have to consult with your medical director, or you could do things this way and get by a little bit. Eventually, it might come back to haunt you. And that's why it's also so important to have a specifically healthcare attorney who can walk you through that, if you are in business. And I know that Kiana and I have both learned from starting these businesses is that there's definitely a difference between a healthcare lawyer and the other lawyer and every other lawyer,
Yeah.
because I know Kiana always tells the story about how she had to set up her corporation 3 times because she just kept getting lawyer after lawyer, not realizing that she had to have a healthcare law attorney who gets and understands the law around this space, especially since med spa and these practices come. Sometimes the laws can just seem pretty vague,
Mhm.
and it's up to everyone's interpretation on what it means. So, can you speak to the difference for people who don't know that all lawyers aren't created the
Oh
same,
my
and that it's
gosh.
best, especially if you're setting up a practice, to get a healthcare law attorney to do
You
so?
know what? And it's so funny that you say that, because you would be surprised. Lawyers will email me and say, "Hey, Doris, can you give me some guidance on this?" And they will take the person's money and pose like they know what they're talking about. I say that because you are absolutely right. You want somebody who can quickly give you answers. If someone does not do this all the time, they're not going to be able to give you guidance. It just is. If you don't do something all the time, are you able to give your patient guidance? No. So it's the same thing. Like, they they kind of might know something if they look, but they don't know. They really, really don't know. And it's funny. I had one client years ago. He was a PA. He was trying to start up a business, and I was telling him Texas law for PAs and MDs starting businesses. We have some type of workarounds, but it's not it doesn't go too much on the other side. And he would just keep fighting me. He's like, well, my friend uses one healthcare attorney, just was a business attorney who kind of just put it on their website. So I was like, let's go call him. Let's email him. So I emailed him and I was like, I heard that you did this, blah, 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 blah. And then I just put the law. I was like, how did you get around this law? And I CC'd my client, and it was like a lot of stumbling and a lot of confusion. And I told him, I'm like, look, unless you are willing to sign what I call a CYA, then I always tell my clients, I'm going to go black letter law. Everything I write is going to be based on the law within your state, and I'm not going to change it. If you want to do something else, that's on you. But what I will write will be the law, because Today we write it, you guys are working together, you have a great relationship with your medical director or your business partner. 3 years down the line, you might have a dispute. You want to be able to say, my contract is solid. You want to be able to have to turn to your attorney and they know what they're talking about and they can jump on the phone and talk to the medical director or talk to a business partner and explain it. Your regular business attorney does not know how to do that. And they, some of them might be kind of familiar, but they just, you need someone who's confident because when your medical director has questions and that business attorney can't answer, they're going to not want to work with you. Something that I say all the time, like, your medical director always gets nervous. They're like, they want to help you out, but they don't want to lose their license. And if your attorney doesn't know what they're talking about, they're going to be saying, you don't know what you're doing. And until you know what you're doing, we're not going to work together. So,
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct in that. It does scare them off, and it will scare the potential medical directors off. And I believe she took one of our classes or Kiana's class, but there was a student who was basically she had went to an attorney, and the attorney was had this crazy organizational chart and was like, "How do you want me to set up your MSO?" And she was sending it from another attorney group that we work with. And so Kiana was telling her, like, first of all, if it's a healthcare attorney, they wouldn't be sending you this saying, "How do you want me to set it up?" They would be telling you that.
mhm,
So it's just, I just want to caution nurses out there, like Doris is saying, they should be able to answer your questions without thinking about it.
mhm,
They should not have to get back to you. They should not be asking you how you want it set up. They should be telling you what's best for you to set it up based on your situation.
exactly.
So I just want all the listeners out there to make sure that you hear me in saying that and don't waste your money on someone. And we tell our students your most expensive fee in starting this business is going to be legal, but it's for that reason because you want things set up properly the right way by somebody who knows. I mean, nurses are so scared to start open these businesses, and then we're like, well, you got to pay legal, and it's like, I got to pay legal what?
Yeah.
Like, well, that's what gets around your fear is making sure business is set up properly. So
And when I tell people that, when I talk to them about fees and why, it's because you're going to stalk me. For the next
yeah.
month, 2 months, you're
Mhm.
gonna stalk me. I'm gonna have to answer every question. And one of the
Yes.
things I try to answer the question with the statute or the case law. Like,
Right.
this is what it
Yeah.
says. This is so that you feel comfortable. Somebody's asking you, it's right
Mhm.
here. It's right here.
Right.
That's what you want
Right.
to do. You
Yeah.
don't want me to say, I don't know.
Mhm.
That doesn't make a
Mhm.
lot of sense.
Exactly, exactly. I was going to ask you something else. Oh, can you speak to because Kiana and I both say that we started our practices off. We both started them off as just like the 49-51% agreement here in California, but we have since switched our practices over to an MSO model. So, do you recommend the MSO model? And if so, is there an easy way for you to explain? Because we always try to get into like explaining what it is, and it we try to explain legal, but we try to tell our clients like, here's your attorney that we're providing you. Go ask them the questions, but they always come back and they're asking us, and it's like we are not the attorney, so we can. But we work with them for 2 months after, and it seems like on the last call we're still talking about legal.
Yeah.
We're still talking about how the MSO. It's like just make the appointment with the attorneys. They will explain it to you so easily, way better than we can do. So, do you like the MSO
Oh my
model or
goodness, I do MSOs all day. I
okay?
I believe in doing MSOs because I feel like they're the safest
Yes.
model. They're the safest in most states. Now, each state has different requirements for percentages and things like that. So that's something that I stress to my clients. It's like I'm going to tell you what is applicable in your state. I'm not going to tell you what's applicable in someone else's state because someone will quote me California. I'm like, but you're in Texas. This is
Right.
this we got to
Right.
do what
So
Texas says. Don't
yeah.
start quoting stuff that's not relevant.
Yes,
So
yes.
yes,
Expect to be 100% ownership
it's
by the
100% ownership, and people are like, "Oh my god." I'm like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
guess what? It is what it is. So,
Right, right,
but I again, I just say, just get over that. Like,
right,
you just
right. Yeah.
participate, get over that because again, I go back to my boss. If this man can do it,
Mhm.
why can't you? He's making
Right.
millions where you're complaining about percentages. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Um, but yes, an MSO is a management service organization. It manages the clinic of someone else's clinic. I kind of fashion it to like a very expensive electric bill or water bill. It is a bill to the physician's practice. Now, the amount that is billed is dependent on your state law. Um, for the most part, it's dependent on your state law. You've got a lot of other things that you've got to think about because it needs to be within fair market value. It's got to, got to make sure that it passes all the musters of other things. But on a very basic level, it's a very expensive bill to the physician's practice. Now, when you're thinking about ownership, an MSO allows you to participate, right? For me, I go back to like, if I want to get in, I'm gonna do that because if I can't, like in Texas, you can't get in any other way. I'm not gonna, be diddly dabbling over I can't own the actual clinic because gosh, there's so many very lucrative MSOs across the country that are not med spas, that are just like they're private equity, right? Because private equity does MSOs across the country that it just really doesn't make any sense. I always bring up the example of Aspen Dental. Aspen Dental is a DSO. I'm from Illinois. I'm a big sugar head. I've been to many Aspen Dentals. They're in Texas. They're in
Yes,
California.
I've heard of Aspen.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're everywhere. It's a
Ah,
multi-million dollar company. So I in my brain when people are like, "Oh, I can't own it." I'm like, "Well, Aspen Dental's out here making bank being a
mhm.
DSO all over the
Yes.
country. You can be Aspen Dental for, if you are a good marketer and can really be a good business owner, you can
Right.
adopt the same model. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. So,
Yes. Yes, love that, love that. So, Doris, I want to ask you for the listener, the nurse who is out there, healthcare practitioner who is wanting to start a business, thinking about it, but just really, kind of scared legal wise. What are 3 tips you would give them to just get over the fear and get started that it's going to be okay?
gosh. Well, I think I always tell my clients to get a good coach because your attorney is going to help you legal wise, right? You're good if you got a good healthcare attorney, they're going to help you legal wise, but they're not designed to help you financially be stable. That's not my job. I tell all my clients that. So getting a good coach is imperative. Like we talked about, vetting that. But honestly, if you get a good healthcare attorney who has an understanding of your state's laws, there's not a lot that you need to worry about as far as being compliant and getting started. Because the two things you really worry about, am I going to lose my license? And am I going to make money? Your attorney, if they are a good healthcare attorney, are going to make sure that you are following the law to the letter so that you don't lose your license, right? As long as you're not operating outside of your scope. Because an MSO does not allow you to become a surgeon, okay? It doesn't allow you to just do something crazy. So as long as you're not operating outside of your scope and you are following your state laws for ownership, you're fine. Like I said, finding a great business coach so you can be profitable because you can be good at your job, but you might not be profitable in business. So you need to get someone who knows what they're doing. And that's why I say get that mentorship, get that coach who knows what they're doing. Those two things, I'm like, I feel like you can be successful, right? Like just do it. It's 2023 and we got student loans. We can't be scared. We can't be too scared to make money. So you've got to believe in yourself and to say, you know what, it's doable. Um, if other people are making money, why can't you? And I love the example that you gave about you putting yourself out there, you starting your business, and somebody clear across the country is hiring you to come train their staff. That's what happens when you believe in yourself and you put yourself out there in entrepreneurship, that you open yourself in opportunities. The scared nurse is not getting that opportunity, is not making that money. And that you're creating a void and an opportunity for somebody else because you don't believe in yourself. Someone else is taking over and eating into that market share. Um, so yeah.
Great. Those are great. Great tips. Thank you. So where can our listeners reach you, Doris, where can they find you at? I know you have you do a lot on TikTok, so I enjoyed watching your videos on TikTok. Where can our people find you, and how can they work with you?
Okay, so you can find me on my website, dklawg.com. You can schedule intake call at
Okay.
dorismeet.com. And you can find me on TikTok on DK Law Group. That's my handler on TikTok. So um,
Okay, perfect.
I'm always looking to grow and work with more providers and really just get people to their dreams because, like I
Mm-hmm.
always say, like there's no reason that if private equity is getting into med spas because they are and
Yes.
they're really pushing, you
Mm-hmm.
should be getting into it too because they're eating up
Yes.
your market share.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. All your information will be linked. You can find her information in the show notes. So please go ahead and leave us a comment how you enjoyed this interview. I thank you so much, Doris, for coming on and speaking to us. You
Thank
gave so much
you.
valuable information that our listeners can definitely utilize, get inspired by, and hopefully go out and start their own businesses.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So until next time, thank you for listening to the Nurse Boss Shift. Bye.